Welcome back to HQ Spotlight. The Green Bay Packers took a big step forward with quarterback Jordan Love behind center last year. They won 11 regular season games. It led to back-to-back playoff appearances. And Love, who signed that massive extension in the previous summer, had a 9-6 overall record through his first 15 games. But he's battled injuries along the way. There's been some concerns about a dip in production. He saw setbacks in his completion percentage, total yards, touchdown passes from a year ago, and the number of turnovers increased. But his head coach, Matt LaFleur, not worried about it. He said, quote, "I think there's a narrative out there that for whatever reason, he wasn't as productive as the year before." He told this to The Athletic. He went on to say, well, he missed significant time and he missed the better of 3 games. 3 games is a significant amount of time, and you're going to be you're not going to produce as much from a numbers perspective. We've got our NFL team of former linemen. Shout out to the linemen on this segment, Jaire Douzable and Kyle Long, to talk all things Packers. Kyle, I feel like we always have these conversations when it comes to young quarterbacks, right? The highs of when they have a really great rookie year and then they dip off, and then we ask whether or not it's going to be sustainable. Where do you sit when it comes to Jordan Love and his 2025 expectations?
Well, I'm not concerned one bit about Jordan Love because in the NFL, there's haves and there's have-nots from a talent standpoint. And Jordan Love proved it early to us as NFL fans. And personally, as a hater of the Green Bay Packers, I saw it early and often with Jordan Love that he is a guy who has it. So the Packers continue to add to their arsenal of weapons on the offensive side of the ball. Matthew Golden is going to be a huge part of that offense. I think their investment in the offensive line this offseason with Aaron Banks coming into town, albeit a juicy big deal, it's going to be worth the squeeze because Jordan Love is a guy that you invest in. And yeah, I'm not concerned one bit for the Green Bay Packers and their offense.
Yeah, Kyle, when you look at this, I think to Matt LaFleur's point, Jordan Love got banged up at the end of the first regular season game versus the Eagles in Brazil, right? He got hit on that Hail Mary pass, missed the next 2 games. So as any player, more specifically quarterback, it's going to take you a while to get that rhythm back flowing. It seemed like he was a little skittish because when he came back, he had 7 consecutive games where he threw an interception. 10 out of those, and then 10 interceptions in those 7 games. So he was skittish with the football as well, turning the football over. But I'm not worried about Jordan Love. To me, the biggest question is for Matt LaFleur, the actual play caller. Because what is the identity of the Green Bay Packers? Going into last year, you just gave Jordan Love a $55 million a year contract. But once he got hurt, the offense kind of ran through Josh Jacobs, and it seemed like, Kyle, they were in no man's land when he came back from injury because the team was still playing at extremely high level, but it was through the trenches of the offensive line and Josh Jacobs. So I think that's the biggest thing for Matt LaFleur. And everybody's talking about Jordan Love had a regression. The offensive philosophy changed because Jordan Love got hurt, and they lean more on the run game. What will be the philosophy of the Green Bay Packers that will help Jordan Love not have a regression, but for him to progress as a young quarterback?
It seems like the same conversation that we have when talking about C.J. Stroud, where he had this magnificent rookie year, and then he had an awful offensive line last year, and things dropped. And there's obviously other things that come into play when we see these numbers drop for quarterbacks. If we go to the other side, Lige, your specialty, the defense, this Jaire Alexander saga just continues. We know that in February, all signs were pointing, towards the split between the two. And yet here we are. We're still talking about whether or not he's going to be on the roster in 2025. He's seen some interest from, potentially the Falcons and the Vikings. But where is the best fit for Jaire Alexander? Lige.
If the Green Bay Packers were smart, it would be to restructure and re-sign him because we saw that secondary struggle mightily without Jaire Alexander. Now, the issue with Jaire Alexander is he can't stay on the field. Only 14 regular season games over the last 2 years. But you go back to last year in the 23 season when Jaire Alexander only played 7 regular season games. When he came back healthy for the playoffs, he was a game changer. He's that energy bug on defense. He's the guy that can take the football away. When healthy, Kyle, he's a top 3 corner. I'm going to say that. When healthy, Jaire Alexander is a top 3 corner in this league. The guy has bravado. He has that confidence. And he's one of the best zone cover corners in all of football. In regards to having this back towards the receiver, playing with vision to the quarterback, understanding route concepts, and taking the football away. There's a reason why that secondary struggle besides Xavier McKinney is because Jaire Alexander wasn't there. And Haley, there's a reason why they haven't traded him, because they know when he's healthy, he's one of the better players in football. I believe he has a cap number of around $25 million. They have to restructure that and get that number lower. But the best place for Jaire Alexander is with the Green Bay Packers.
Well, and I think that's known across the board there, because let's say he does walk, whether it's a trade or whatever it is, it would be the second cornerback that Green Bay lost in the offseason. Of course, they lost Eric Stokes to Las Vegas, Kyle. So when we talk about the biggest offseason losses, is that the room? I feel like naturally that's the room you're looking at there, is that secondary for Green Bay.
Yeah, I don't like to talk little guys very often on air, but, when it is the issue on a very good football team, the cornerback room for the Green Bay Packers, it needs to be discussed. And the depth would have been an issue even if we knew that Jaire Alexander was a sure thing. And to answer the question you posed to Leger, I think Jaire Alexander is right where he needs to be. This roster is complete if you have a little bit more depth, a little bit more juice in that cornerback room. You got McKinney on the back end, Ezra and Cooper in the middle. Obviously, you got a tough front seven, and with Hafley's ability to have some corners out there with some juice, this defense can really hit some home runs. We saw McKinney is a turnover machine.
Yeah, my biggest loss, and I'm going to stay on the defensive side, but I'm going to go to the linebacking position. It's Eric Wilson, and he ends up leaving Green Bay, going back to Minnesota where he started his NFL career. And people will say, well, this was a backup linebacker, but you have to understand, in those three linebacker sets he started, and then also when Quay Walker and Edrin Cooper, you brought him up, when they got banged up, he showed up big for that defense. So he was a guy that was interchangeable. He could play the mic, he could play the wheel, and he also was a special teams ace, a demon. We know Rich Bisaccia is there, one of the best special teams coaches. I thought this was a massive loss for the depth position at the linebacking position for the Green Bay Packers.
Well, they did address the cornerback room at the very least. To Kyle's point, they drafted Micah Robinson out of Tulane in the 7th round, and then they added Nate Hobbs earlier in the offseason. So that is what Green Bay lost. Let's talk about their biggest addition, Leger. What is it? What do you think that the Green Bay Packers did this offseason that's going to make them over the top?
And that's why you're the point guard, Haley, because you set me up perfectly. I know Kyle was talking about losing Eric Stokes and going to the Las Vegas Raiders. Well, Green Bay said, you want to take one of our corners? We're going to take one of yours, Nate Hobbs. And this is a guy that can play in the slot. He can play in the outside. Jeff Hafley already said he's going to be playing both outside and inside. Kashawn Nixon is a guy that plays outside and inside. They had their rookie safety playing majority in the slot last year, Javon Bullard. And I felt like at times he was out of position. We already talked about Jaire Alexander and the health issues. Get a guy like Nate Hobbs that can come in from day one, bigger corner, 6 foot tall. He's physical in the run game. And you know this, Kyle, when you play the slot corner, you essentially become that extra linebacker. And teams try to hunt you up and scheme you up in the run game. Well, Nate Hobbs is a willing tackler. He's going to bring some tenacity to that defense. So I thought this was a massive get. Again, Rich Bisaccia was with him when he was with the Las Vegas Raiders. His rookie year, played special teams with them. Now he's with the Green Bay Packers to add some tenacity, not only to the outside corner position, but the slot corner position as well.
Yeah, Nate Hobbs, one of these guys that can be a big-time threat in the blitz game, as you brought up. Physical, willing tackler. Love that. On the offensive side of the ball, the big add is Matthew Golden. I'm a big guy, a big believer in the RAS score, which is the relative athletic score. It predicts pretty much pop, juice, explosion, the ability to move quickly. Matthew Golden has it. Jordan Love is looking to reload and show out this year with this receiving core. A lot of question marks in that room, but Matthew Golden is one that I don't think will be one.
He had like the best draft moment of all time there, becoming the first skill player in, 2 decades, and he gets up on the podium and he's like, go Packers! It was really, really funny. So we're excited to see Jordan Love, Matthew Golden linking up. When it comes to the Packers, guys, kind of an interesting, maybe a niche stat here. They have the 5th fewest round-trip miles, just under 11,500 miles when it comes to their total travel this season. Leger, I feel like we talk about the travel from like a body standpoint, right? Like what it does to the athlete and the short weeks and the long weeks, etc. Is this the fewest round-trip miles this season? Is this an advantage for teams?
Without a doubt, Haley, Kyle can speak to this. As players, we're meticulous in how we prepare throughout the week. And the least amount of travel helps us in that preparation to get ready to play games, whether it's on Thursday, Monday, Saturday, Sunday. So the Packers having the fifth fewest miles having to travel means they're going to be able to stick to their script. Again, we're meticulous creatures of habits. There's a pattern in how we do things. So this helps you not only from a recovery standpoint, but in regards to getting into that rhythm of your daily schedule week in and week out. So this is a big win for the Packers, being the fifth fewest traveled team in the NFL this year.
All right. The Packers will open the season on CBS. They are hosting the Detroit Lions, so we'll keep our eye on that. Leger, when it comes to the Packers season outlook, you have them going 9-8 this season. So, Kyle, that leads me to you. How do you think this Packers squad will do in 25?
Well, I think they'll be even better than that. And really quickly, Haley, I want to point out the Chargers and the Rams, 37,000 and 34,000 miles traveled. For me, I got the Packers going 10-7. As I stated earlier, I think it's a really talented unit defensively. They've got a quarterback, and it's a quarterback haves and have-nots league. They've got a ton of skill guys. I think that they can rally back again under Matt LaFleur's guidance.
All right, there you have it. 10-7, 9-8. Either way, it's a winning season for the Green Bay Packers. Guys, we appreciate the time. As always, it'll be football season before we know it. That's what our experts say. Here's what the SportsLine model is telling us when it comes to those projections. So right between Kyle and Leger when it comes to that win total at 10.7. That's what SportsLine is telling us. An 8.6 chance of making it to the Super Bowl after getting bounced by the Eagles a year ago in the wild card round. We'll see how it all shakes out later this year.